Alright, now we're going to modify a Sony P32 camera. We're going to disable the shutter door on this P32, so first thing we'll do is make sure we got batteries in the camera here. We're going to turn the power on. And we're going to remove the batteries. That opens up the lens cover and keeps it open while we get inside the camera to disable it. Alright, we'll start removing the screws. Take the memory card out here. And there's another screw underneath that. Now we can get inside the camera. Now we just take our standard flathead screwdriver, small one, and get it in the crease of the front and the back cover of the camera. And just give it a little twist as you move down the crease. There we go, you should hear those snaps come apart. You want to do just a little bit at a time, you don't want to force it. Alright, now to disable the shutter door, all we got to do is unplug these two wires from this plug. Grab a hold of the plug and just pull it out of there. Now I'm just going to take a small piece of electrical tape and cover up the plug there. You want to make sure that the camera's apart when you do this, that the back cover is off of the front, and that that nothing's going to be in the way of the drill bit as it goes through the case. Alright, with the P32, much the same as the S40 and the P41, we need to solder 3 wires into the camera. Now if we go to this terminal block here, this whitish plastic block here, you'll notice that there's this ribbon cable going into the top of it. And out inside the ribbon cable you could notice, you should be able to see some small traces that are in the ribbon cable. Those traces is what we're going to use to connect the shutter assembly from Hag's house, and then solder our wires to the shutter assembly. So on the shutter assembly, you'll notice that there's labels on these solder pads. This one's R, and that one's not used. S is the shutter, P is the power, and C is the common wire. All we need to do is match up the traces on the shutter assembly to the traces within the ribbon cable here. We need to take the ribbon cable out. Now you can use tweezers. Make sure they're smooth. You don't want to rip or damage the ribbon cable at all. I find that tweezers sometimes hard to get a grip, so I end up using my small flathead screwdriver and just wedging up the corners on each side until gets high enough that you can grab it. There we go. Now what we're going to do, we're going to flip this shutter assembly around so that we're staring at the back. So we can't see the solder pads yet. Now we're going to line up the 4 traces to the far right of the P32's ribbon cable. Now if you're having trouble sandwiching the shutter assembly in with the ribbon cable, sometimes it helps to turn the camera around so you're looking at the top of the camera. Take the ribbon cable totally out, then put your shutter assembly into the plastic block, fold it back a little bit, and then put the ribbon cable in, and now push them both in together. Okay, so we got our shutter assembly here, ribbon cable pushed all the way back in, and the traces are lined up just about right. Now we can thread our wires through the hole that we drilled. Put some electrical tape on the shutter assembly so that it holds it in place. Alright, going to expose the red wire here, just a little bit of it. That's what we're going to use for our shutter wire. Our blue power wire in place here. And we've got our white common wire ready to go. Alright, we got all 3 wires soldered in. Tape it down. Close up the camera. Alright, we're going to test the camera out here. We got batteries and memory card in there. So we've disabled the lens shutter, or the lens cover, so the only way we're going to be able to figure out if camera power is on is if the green light on top turns on. So, okay, camera powered on. And I touched, if you touch the common, which is our white wire with the power, you can control the power of the camera as long as everything's modified right, so it looks like it is. Now I'm going to touch the common and the shutter, and it should snap a picture. There we go. There we go, everything's good. Alright, I replaced all the screws there. We're just going to put some goop around our servo connector here so that we anchor it down to the camera. I want to put a little around right where the wires come out. I want to make sure the raised part of the servo connector is pointing up. Lift up the servo and put some underneath there. Now I'm just going to take another little tiny piece of matchstick and use it as a shim. Put it under the servo. Take a piece of electrical tape and tape it down just to hold it in place temporarily while the goop dries. Once the goop is dried, then she's ready to go, ready to be hooked up to your control board.